This shit is defense gold. This is defense gold. For all of my Karen Reed experts, Michael Proctor has been terminated, or in the words of Colonel Superintendent Jeffrey Noble, dishonorably discharged from his duties as a state trooper. Y'all tried to warn me about Karen Reed. Y'all tried to warn me about Karen Reed. Y'all were all through my comments telling me how bad I needed to watch it. It was super interesting. It was super juicy. There was a lot going on. And people wanted to know what I thought. And honestly, I was so invested in the YSL trial. I just did not have time. Neither did I want to be arguing with people, because I have seen how y'all get down about Karen Reed in these comments. And I just didn't want to do that. But after I came across this 5-hour hearing between the state and the defense about the experts and whether or not the defense attorneys were lying, we'll talk about that in another video. I was interested, and I've been interested since then. So I started watching the first trial because I think it's going to be really important to be able to compare some of what happened in the first trial to the second trial. But I want to focus on Mr. Proctor. He is no longer Officer Proctor. And for where I'm sitting, he don't deserve to be Officer Proctor. He probably should have never been Officer Proctor. Now, if you watched the first trial, or even just the opening statements of the defense in the first trial, it is very clear that things went very, very wrong in this investigation. So the city of Canton did not investigate this because the person who owns the home where John O'Keefe was found, Kevin Albert, he is a Canton police officer. And I believe possibly his brother is a Boston police officer, but they're police officers. So they sent it off to the state police, which is where Mr. Proctor used to work. The issue with that is that Mr. Proctor knows the Alberts, so much so that he has dined with them and has gone to weddings of theirs, etc., etc. Probably not a good idea. There is at least an appearance of a conflict of interest, and that's enough. So I think they maybe could have just found another investigator. I don't even think they had to send it to another department. They could have just found another investigator, but they didn't. And there were accusations of a lot of things. I'm gonna just talk about what I think are the most disturbing and the ones that got him fired. First, and I want to quote this, Trooper Proctor, on various dates between January 29th and August 17, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and or did fail to take appropriate action on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other condition deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, sent derogatory, defamatory, disparaging, and or other inappropriate text messages about a suspect in that investigation to other individuals. Now, the defense, in their opening statement, talked about this. Mr. Proctor was sending text messages to his friends, who may or may not be police officers, I don't even know, it doesn't matter, about Karen Reed, talking about wanting to find news in her phone, prematurely, might I add. He shouldn't have even been in the phone. This is before they even got a warrant, before they sifted through and took out any attorney-client privilege information. But he's talking about wanting to see news, wanting to find her nudes, calling her all kinds of nasty names, wishing death on her life, just very unbecoming of somebody who is investigating a case. It is very obvious that he does not like her, and that's a problem. What does that mean? That means there is a bias, right? We cannot trust him to investigate this case without bias, because he is so biased against her. He wishes she would unalive herself. Second, Trooper Proctor, on various dates between January 29th and June 9th, 2022, did fail to conform to the work of the standards established, etc., etc., etc. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as a lead investigator in a homicide investigation, provided sensitive and or confidential information about a homicide victim, potential witness, and or potential investigative steps in the investigation to non-law enforcement personnel. We heard about this as well. Not only was he leaking confidential information to his friends, but it's also alleged that he was sending updates about the investigation to the Alberts, his friends. That's going to be a problem. Next, Trooper Proctor, through his actions on various dates between January 29, 2022, which is the date that John O'Keefe passed away, and August 17, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, through his unprofessional and inappropriate conduct, created an image that he was biased in his dealings with a homicide suspect and or brought otherwise on himself and the Massachusetts State Police into disrepute, etc., etc. And I think that's just a summary of what we know based on what they accused him and found him in violation of, right? You are sending nasty text messages about this woman, possibly sexually harassing her, hoping that you find nudes in her phone, talking badly about her, sharing secrets about the investigation, giving heads up to people that you didn't even investigate. Because let's take a step back. They never actually investigate the Alberts as it relates to this case. So we have problem after problem, issue after issue after issue. And that is, my friends, why this damn trial is so divisive. Because even if you think that Karen Read did something wrong, which I'm not so sure whether she did or did not, this investigation alone is enough for me to say she should absolutely be found not guilty. That's how bad this investigation was. And now let's talk about what's going to happen in the second trial. It is not uncommon for me to take a deposition, and I ask every officer in every deposition, have you ever had a complaint against you? Has any complaint ever been substantiated? Have you ever been disciplined, right? Most times, those complaints have nothing to do with my case, right? So it might be a little more complicated for me to get in bad behavior about an officer if it's completely unrelated to my case and completely unrelated to the behavior that I'm accusing this officer of in my case. But in this case, Karen Read is now going to trial, and the lead detective has been fired, not just for bad behavior, but for bad behavior related to how he investigated this case. This shit is defense gold. This is defense gold. There is no way that this judge can keep this information from in front of it. She can't. She cannot keep this information away from the jury. They are absolutely going to be able to cross-examine Proctor on what happened. And I want to add, and I saved this for the end because it's the juiciest piece. Karen Read is also charged with DUI. She's charged with second-degree murder and DUI manslaughter. They also fired him because during this investigation, he was drinking and driving, specifically driving his police cruiser. And there's like a taste of sweetness to that fact, because how dare you? Yeah. So like I said, I think all this information is coming in. Absolutely. I think this is terrible for the state and great for the defense. I will be watching every second of this second trial, unless I'm in trial myself, but I will do my best to bring y'all as much information as possible. And I have a couple other important things that I think y'all should pay attention to before you go into the second trial. So hopefully y'all see a bunch of videos from me about Karen Read before April 1st, which is supposed to be the beginning of the trial. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if y'all saw it, what y'all think, where y'all are at with Karen Read.